This is possibly my third lecture or fourth lecture. Fourth lecture. Yesterday I gave 3 and then today. So I would like to speak on incompressible flow in complex configuration because
Excuse me, sir. Can you on the video?
not the video. Yeah. So I'd
Yes, sir.
like to speak about this topic because I spent almost more than 30 years on developing these incompressible flow solvers. And this happened, I mean, this complex configuration. So that is the topic for today. The next. So I will try to introduce why we started writing this code about 40 years back, then about the evolution of CFD, then I will try to explain the concepts of this unsteady RANS code and some of the features. And for steady and unsteady flow, I will do some examples. That will be a part of the second lecture. Okay. So when we talk in the first one, when we talk about CFD technology evolution, CFD has evolved from mere academic curiosity of the physicists and mathematicians. They wanted to know how and sort out equations were there, but how we can solve this for a practical problem. And today it is much, much bigger in sense. It's an emerging technology for engineers. And there are two elements of this technology which have made it possible today for the engineers to use CFD effectively. One is the powerful algorithms which organize mathematics to simulate flow physics. So you give your mind on these two words, organize mathematics to simulate flow physics. So we are actually, as engineers, we are trying to use the best qualities of these two. So we are not allowing the mathematicians to dream only. Let him organize, let him put his efforts in developing the algorithm, and very powerful algorithm, which make the CFD codes to run. And that must be related to not to prove a lemma or prove some theorem, to simulate flow physics. What does the flow do, and how can we calculate, compute the numbers required by the engineers? So this is one aspect. The second aspect is the super fast development of computer power. Had there been no strong and powerful computer, all this thought process developed by the mathematicians or physicists could not have been used. So these two factors have made it possible what you have today. So it's a good design tool, but there is a disappointing limitation. You know what it is? I think all of you know, but still I describe that industrial flows which you want to solve, want to know, use in our design are mostly turbulent. But unfortunately, our understanding of the physics of turbulence is far, far from complete. We still do not know what exactly turbulence is, how it manifests. As Professor Peter Bradshaw, whom I had the luck and opportunity to meet at Stanford when I spent 1 year there, and it is his comment in a paper in numerical methods in fluid dynamics that turbulence is the chief outstanding difficulty of our subject. So what it is doing that we cannot solve turbulent flow, constantly slowing down the growth of technology development. And this he mentioned in one of his papers, I think sometime in 93 or 94. Close that door. So with that limitation, we still went ahead and tried to do something, some application of mathematics and physics to, to predict engineering, flows of engineering interest. Here you see a picture, and that is of no other than late Professor D. Brand Spalding. Unfortunately, we lost him in 2019, November. It is last.
Good morning, Avinash sir. আচ্ছা শুনতো
Okay. So he was a professor of heat transfer and the head of the CFD division from Imperial College London. That was the seat of learning. And fortunately, he was the examiner of my own PhD thesis on flame stabilization, which was submitted in 1981. And comments which finally came to know during my viva, it is very positive and very enthusing people, enthusing the youngers, to be very, very encouraging to go deeper into this newly identified area of CFD. These are all in writing terms, which he believed should encourage the experts to write suitable computer programs, because his argument is everybody knows so many things, specialists. So why don't they write it in form of programs so that the engineers or whoever is using that particular system can run it and get the numbers? So extensively used by non-experts. They may not be expert in that particular problem he is solving. So for their numerical experiments to arrive at their design. This was, now it sounds okay, that is common, but at that point of time, nothing was available. So people used to know that, yes, we have some equations, but we don't know the numbers which are required in my design. And accordingly, he spent a lot of time with his students. He has a lot of marvelous students like Atankar, Pratap Anka, Alok Majumdar, so many. And the first computer code in the world of CFD was written, supervised by him, by his students, and used by Sham Limited. This is a company he opened. And that was an eyesore for the other professors because they thought he wants to make money, but that's not at all. The CHAM, you see the name of the company, concentration, heat, and momentum, things which diffuse actually. So the CHAM came up in England and later in US also. So now they have two big units. In England, unit is near Wimbledon, where tennis is played, just in the same place. And the first CFD code written by them is Phoenix, Phoenics. Every letter is like parabolic, hyperbolic, elliptic, and etc., etc. I'm not going to the details. Now, this was a great inspiration, and he told me that you continue. Next time when he came to visit India, he has multiple number of students in India. So he encouraged me to join him. But I alone could not because my wife was also equally qualified. And getting two visa in UK was very difficult. So he referred my name to another professor who was his student, Professor Dr. Wolfgang Rudi. He did his PhD with Professor Spalding. And that was the first organized effort in developing the Reynolds stress model to predict turbulence. And he was a full professor at the Institute for Hydromechanics, University of Karlsruhe. So here I joined in 1983, but I was working on another project of German Science Foundation, that is the flow prediction through cooling towers, on which they were having some wind tunnel experiments. And that was being carried out by the then director of IIT Madras, Professor N.V. Chandrasekhar Swamy. So he was working on wind tunnel downstairs, and I was working on computation upstairs in the same building, wind tunnel hall, wind canal hall. And Karlsruhe is a very peaceful, nice place. Actually, two of my own students are now studying there. I have recommended them. So Professor Rodi offered a big project. I was a research scientist there. And in 86, the German Science Foundation thought that there is nothing like a code which can compute incompressible turbulent flow. And because Professor Rodi is a big man in turbulence, so he expressed that if you can lead the group, I will always be helping you. So it was a major thrust of this development to develop a general purpose code to compute three-dimensional flows in any complex, arbitrary shaped curvilinear space. So no more, in cooling tower calculation, which I did prior to this, I used the code from Imperial College for 3D code developed by Professor Gossman, who has developed the Star CCM Plus today available in market. So till 1989, I was in charge of this, and I was in charge of the development of the code right from scratch. And the code was developed in Fortran because that was very nice language, very easy to understand for mathematics, physics people, and validated, and the C++ did not exist for few laminar flow cases. So the code was developed up to that point where mainly the geometry, how to generalize that. And then we tried some laminar cases, which was given by other companies, and it was published as well in Transaction of ASME. But in 1989, I decided to leave Germany. Not for anything else, but I just wanted to come back home with my family. And I got opportunity in IIT Kanpur as well as NAL. And NAL laboratory, I got another man. I'll show him after this, Professor Rudham Narasimha. So he said he was pursuing pursuing a lot of interest in intense R&D in the area of CFD, because he realized if NASA Ames can proceed to parallel computing, why don't we initiate? Why not in the country? So, and he was a great leader, almost a great philosopher, I would say. So after I joined NAL, National Aerospace, in 89, I was put the chief of that computation development, computer fluid dynamics, CFD development. And we did a lot of projects on aerodynamics and hydrodynamics, sponsored by DRDO, ISRO. I will discuss all this tomorrow's lecture or day after tomorrow's lecture, till I retired in 2010. But I did continue my interest like Professor Spalding had or Professor Wolfgang Rodi had. So we came to NAL, and whom you see here, he's an Indian, but a great man on turbulence. I think all of you know his name and him, but he was like a godfather for me. So he said, nothing doing, don't go to IIT Kanpur, be here with me and develop the turbulence codes, turbulence modeling codes, so that people all around the industry can use them. It may not be commercialized, but let us do that. So he was already working in the area of transition and turbulence. I think all of you are aware of his famous work with Professor S.S. Dhawan on transition. And that experiment was conducted in Indian Institute of Science. So he said, why don't you compute and try to validate those famous experiments and everything which the industry works. It inspired me to simulate complex flows in aero and hydro, both by defense as well as the space science labs. And 2 decades of my association with NAL made it possible to develop the RANS code as well as the LES version, large simulation. One, Mrs. Dr. Rajani, she did her PhD, she's a mathematics background, but more or less I completely devoted my time to transform her to be in engineering. And she has got PhD using the large code which we developed together. So solving laminar and turbulent flow and even transitional flows, that was of course very latest. And the RANS 3D code found multiple successful applications of shape, of sonar dome, torpedo, etc. And low speed aerodynamics problems for Doppler weather radon, the airship, balloons, transitional flows over aerofoils, and finally a robust large area simulation code employed for predicting the flow past a circular cylinder, which is as yet to see next. So what were the issues? I'll in this lecture try to say what were the issues and how do we handle it, developing the code. Then tomorrow or the next lecture, I will say what are the problems we solve. So mathematics basis will be here. The applications will be in the next lecture. So what are the complexities one has to handle when one writes a code? Geometrical, physical, and algorithmic. What is geometrical? How to handle the arbitrary shapes of flow domain. Everything is not Cartesian, right? So transport aircraft, ship, submarines, underwater missiles, automobiles. And what would be the best choice for framework of discretization? Because mathematicians has given an open option. How will the variable arrangement be? Will it be all at the cell center? Will you decompose and go by Cartesian velocity components, UVW, or shall you go by arbitrary, curvilinear velocity? What about the geometry? Shall you go by structured grid or shall you go by unstructured grid? You had a lot of words today in the morning lecture. So what is good for us to write down to start writing a code, right? So these are the geometrical complexities. Then physical complexities, that is very important because these are not yet solved. How adequate and accurate is the simulation of turbulence? I think yesterday's lecture has proved that we are nowhere in simulating turbulence. And more, are you able to capture transitional flows? Still now, I would say it is not that complete. People are trying. The third point is the algorithmic complexities. Because if you consider a mathematician or a statistician, they have a lot of issues on algorithm. So how do we handle the continuity equation? It is a very, very interesting equation for incompressible flows. Because if you look at the continuity equation, which is to be satisfied in compressible and incompressible flows, they are pretty different. Because in incompressible flow, what happens? The divergence of rho v is 0, but the rho goes out of this because rho is not changing. So what it is left with divergence of v. And divergence of v is obviously, it is the fluid kinematics. It is the motion, the velocity, geometry. So the question is, when you develop the code, do we go by that kind of analysis or we go by kinetics? Well, what are the geometric and algorithmic issues? So geometric issues, we can see we have to handle multi-block structured boundary fitted grid. So this is a choice, of course. One can use any polyhedral grid. The star CCM works absolutely on duodecagonal, like 12-sided, possible. But we chose hexahedral because this is very close to the engineer's concept. So can I solve the whole domain in one block? No. So multi-block. Shall we keep structured or unstructured? So I have both the options. I can go for hexahedral structured, but up till now, whatever we have developed in ANS 3D is all hexahedral structured. We did not do unstructured. That is, of course, a minus point. Maybe in future, while being here, we can think of developing something in unstructured. You know what is unstructured. Today morning, Jaideep has discussed. Then where do we put the, when I discretize the equations, I will have the flow components only at discrete points. So should it be at the cell face center or should it be at the cell center? When it is cell center and we put all of them in the center, it's co-located variable arrangement. Or shall we put velocities on the face and pressure at the center? So choice is ours. Then conservation equations, how do we frame this? Should we frame in curvilinear boundary fitted coordinates? Answer is yes. But what about the velocity? Shall we still follow the boundary fitted direction velocity in the curvilinear case? Probably not. Because I will tell you later as I proceed, why did we choose? Because if you choose non-Cartesian velocity, the grid-oriented velocity, then you will be left with body forces. You will have centrifugal forces. You have Coriolis component. Otherwise, you cannot write the Navier-Stokes, the momentum conservation equation. And the problem is the evaluation, the numerical evaluation of centrifugal force is very much depending on the radius of curvature. Now, how accurate the radius of curvature will be, because there is no formula-wise going. I have only information about the 4 points of the cell, 4 corners of the cell in 2D, or 8 corners of the cell in 3D. From that, if you calculate, compute the center of curvature, radius of curvature, enormous amount of error may take place, especially in very coarse grid. So we have preferred not to use the non-Cartesian velocity. We are using Cartesian velocity components, but the grid is carved. So it is a non-Cartesian geometry, but Cartesian velocity components, right? So who will take care of these curvature effects? There will be extra terms. There will be extra terms and that will be decided inside the pressure term. That is possible. But we are expressing the equation in Cartesian velocity components. So conservation is considered in the Cartesian direction. Next is algorithmic issues. So when we choose the algorithm, what do we do? Are we directly solving the continuity because we store the velocities? Probably not. What you do is, it is very nicely done by the mathematicians. You eliminate from the momentum equations, and then you can transform the continuity equation to be replaced by a Poisson equation for pressure correction. That means from the momentum equation, by substituting u, v, and differentiating them with different variables, you can transform the whole thing so that the continuity will not be this divergence of rho v 0. It is an equivalent of divergence rho v 0, which is a Poisson equation for pressure, because everything is connected. And that is what done in the simple algorithm of Batankar and Spalding. Same D.B. Spalding. Batankar was his first PhD. Now, what about the pressure velocity splitting? I cannot explain that here, but in course of the discussion, I will tell you. If you don't do it carefully, sometimes the connectivity, we have to always keep in mind that between 2 points, the pressures are stored, and the velocity in between those points is driven by this pressure difference. So the dpdx or dpdy or dpdz in the NS equation is very, very important and tricky to treat. The convective terms can be treated easily, but not the pressure gradient because they are connected. So pressure difference is causing the velocity, the momentum generated by the velocity is causing. So who is to be given prominence? Who is, guiding us to write the code? It was very important. See, when you get a code, it is very easy to run and get some numbers, but we never think who wrote the code, what was his thought process, and that is what I am now going through. Then the discretization. Should we do first order? Should we do second order? Well, people will say, no, first order is better because it takes care of the convective terms easily. It will not fail. If you do second order, it might blow off. So depending on the variable and the equation, we have to choose that. And upwinding has, revolutionized. Yesterday I said about Courant. So how to accommodate upwinding, but still maintaining the accuracy of our discretization, and how to couple the convective flux and diffusive flux together. Then parallelization. If you parallelize, the code becomes faster. Morning grid generation lecture you have heard. That also can be parallelized, multiple domains. So how to do that? Using domain decomposition with MPI calls, message passing interface, right? But the thing what remains a question mark is accuracy of turbulence simulation. No guarantee. Okay. Then go to the next one. I'm just sharing with you the way the thought process went. Then next is uh, simulation of the incompressible fluid. So how does the kind and resolution of grid, is it multi-block, structured, unstructured, what way, influence the solution considering the geometric and physical complexity, which I have already described, and how to simulate transition to turbulence or even fully developed turbulence for flow in complex geometry. So this is probably the greatest modeling challenge indeed. We have done something, but that something is nothing compared to what needs to be done. Then how accurate and cost effective is unsteady flow computation for design simulation as well as situation or of design situation. The code may work very good, give you nice numbers for design situation, but change the loading, the code does not, it produces errors, magnitude high. How prepared we are for transition to scalable parallel computing using the MPI calls for simulation in complex geometry. Today, MPI calls have been replaced by many other better methods, but our code and our knowledge is still limited to that. I'm sorry about it. Then, two things. What about writing a code is something, but then verification, validation, certification, calibration, quantification, what are they? One has to have some, measuring stick to say, yes, this is a very good code. I can say because I have written that my code is very good. But who should say? The users of the code. So what is verification and what is validation? Students always have, no distinction between the two, but they are. The verification means we have to check in the code, are we solving the equations right? So that is in the procedure, the numerical procedure, how good is our solution of the equation? So equations are true, correct, Navier Stokes. But are we solving them right? The procedure what we follow in numerical, are we doing it right? Like how much the convergence error and all. So that is when you write a code, we have to do that running on simple problems is verification. And validation means, are you solving the right equation? The first point, what we started solving, are you correct? There may be in some cases, the continuity equation, the way we write, does not take care of everything. Suppose there are side holes through which fluid is coming. The continuity equation remains same, but are we taking care of the additional fluids coming from other sides? So both the things we have to see. Are we solving the right equations or are we solving the equations right? One about the procedure, one about the choice of the equations. This was a very interesting paper in the Annual Review of Fluid Mechanics in 1897 by Professor Roche, who is a very famous man on the development of CFD. The last thing, but not the least thing, very important, that can we independently distinguish? I thought if I bring out these points for the future code developer, it will be useful. They will know, wow, what are the points I have to keep in mind? Can we independently distinguish the numerical, the experimental, and the turbulence modeling? So what are the errors? Numerical errors there due to bad scheme or good scheme, stable scheme, but giving you error. There can be experimental error, which you are comparing and claiming your accuracy of the code. There can be turbulence modeling errors. You don't know. Same problem solved by 3 turbulence models are different. So can we independently distinguish them in a general manner, irrespective of which problem we are considering? So these are the important points. Next is, why were we motivated to develop such a code, the RANS 3D? First of all, we did not have much in our storage to handle complex configuration. That is, arbitrary and irregular shapes of the flow domain. Because the world is not rectangular, square, by which we learn the theory of mathematics in many places. First one. Then transport aircraft, ship, submarines, underwater missiles, automobiles, and whatnot. And these are very, very complex configuration. So geometry is hell of a job. That is why grid generation time and more attention than the flow solvers. And we have an open choice. If we look at the history of the development, what we did, variable arrangement, shall I put everything to the center or some on the cell face, some on the cell center? Then velocity decomposition. Shall we solve for the U and V equation and W equation, or shall we solve for the curvilinear components? Both are possible. The co and core, that is possible. But what should we do? Shall we use structured grid or shall we use unstructured grid? Shall we use boundary fitted coordinate or Cartesian coordinate geometry? Or shall we use boundary orthogonal grids? Have the grids necessarily to be orthogonal or approximately orthogonal at boundary? So open choice means the code developer, when he first sits down with his pen and pad, these are the questions that what and how I do. Because all these choice will decide how fast you can reach something which is useful. You can always write a Cartesian equation, Cartesian code, but that is not useful for a curvilinear system. Then the speed of the flow. Are we thinking of computing flows at low speed? Low speed means when the elastic forces are insignificant. So what is significant? Your inertia is balanced by mainly the viscous forces, the pressure forces, or any other body forces like gravitation, maybe magnetism, maybe electric forces, but not elastic forces. That means the speed of the fluid will decide that. If the speed of the fluid exceeds certain speed of sound, then of course the elastic forces are significant. So our code will not solve the compressible flow problems easily. If you want to solve, we have to change many things. But you can close your eyes for incompressible flow. So when I say elastic force is insignificant, that means this validity is 100% for incompressible flow. As soon as you go to compressible, up to say 0.1, 0.2 Mach number, they can somehow manage. But then the other forces, elastic forces will be much more. So we have to consider. Then hydrodynamics, then that means we plan to solve hydrodynamics or low speed aerodynamics problem, even aerodynamics, but at a low Mach number, less than 0.2. And what strategy? Because we are planning for incompressible flow, it is better to do pressure velocity, because if you go to stream function vorticity, it becomes even more complex, because the vorticity is a mathematical nice thing, but it is very difficult to get the boundary conditions for the vorticity. In a boundary layer, the wall is there, so the vorticity is almost infinity and very high right on the wall. But how do I get numerical values? So continuity, because we plan to use pressure velocity solution strategy, the continuity is basically transformed into another equation, which is called pressure correction equation, using momentum equation as the pressure velocity link. That means we will solve roughly, approximately for the momentum equation in all the directions, 3 directions. But that connects the pressure and velocity. That does not speak of continuity. Then we have to go to continuity equation and see how much is the deviation. The UV what you have solved is not satisfying. So they need to be corrected. Now what is the way out to correct the pressure field? Because when you solve the momentum, we did not consider pressure first in the beginning. So the continuity is giving me opportunity to solve for the pressure, static pressure field. Once we solve for that correction, we will correct the pressures, correct the velocities, and then we solve for momentum again. So this is the loop actually, the red lines. So first we solve for momentum equation, all the 3, then we solve for continuity, and we go back. Once we solve the second time, obviously the pressure field is now, first solution may be without pressure field, meaning nothing physically. And second solution may be whatever pressure field we have found out at the end of the first iteration. Well, again we get some velocities, we solve for continuity, again the pressure field changes. So we have to do it in an iterative manner. And third important thing is turbulent flow. So we are using eddy viscosity based turbulence model. This is the simplest model for turbulence yesterday I discussed for computing the Reynolds stresses, and laminar to turbulent transition not simulated up to that point. But last 4 or 5 years, I have been spending on transition, and at least good papers, 2 or 3 papers, because we felt the need when we solve for cylinder, flow path circular cylinder, that if you don't solve for transition, you are nowhere after some time. So that is now there, but at that time, development time, it was not there. Next one. So what is it that we are talking? What is that conservation equations? See, I prefer to write like this, although this is not the usual way followed by the incompressible flow loving people. But the compressible flow loving people, they always, if you go and see the codes of Boeing or many aircraft manufacturers, they have to handle compressible flow. And they will prefer to write the whole gamut of equations in this form. So only generic form, del U del T plus del F del X plus del G del Y plus del H del Z equal to S, which means it is a Cartesian 3D system and time is T, and U, F, G, H, S, they are not a single point, they are vectors. See, row of things. So when U is rho, the S is 0, F is rho U, G is rho V, and H is rho W, correct? So the first column of all these definitions, arrays, are satisfying continuity. So the first element of this row matrix satisfying the continuity as far as the differential equation is concerned. Very easy. When I go for the second one, rho U, I'm talking del del T of rho u equal to del del, the rho square plus P minus tau. So this is the shear stress and pressure and the same direction momentum. So a component of momentum in the x direction, that force part, that is substituted in F, x derivative of that. So x direction components we are taking. Whereas when I'm doing rho v, I'm taking rho u v minus tau xy because there is no rho u square. That means whatever, if you close your eyes and think of the parallelepiped, which is receiving or discharging fluid and under pressure. So you can see the v moment, v direction momentum is given by rho u v minus tau xy, so shear stress component. Similarly for W, and similarly for the last part, which is the rho u plus, so the energy equation, you have a long thing because the long part is coming because of the work done. So Pu or U tau, shear work, pressure work, all those things are coming, and kdT dx is for the diffusion, right? So everything is coming in the last equation, the energy equation. So this is summarily what we see, and you have other things, F dot V dot, that is the momentum, then rho Q dot, even that is the heat transfer part. So we can see that this one represents the whole mechanics of fluid for the compressible or incompressible, whatever the situation. And when we develop a method, we should do it looking at this so that any one column we can pick up and say, well, this is my equation momentum solver, this is my V momentum. So go to the next one. The another difficulty is we have chosen the grid to be curvilinear, but velocities to be Cartesian. So there is one problem, because if we are having written a code in Cartesian, it will be valid for Cartesian. But when you go to curvilinear, my grid is curvilinear, so we have to transform. And that transformation is very simple. Curvilinear coordinates is x1, x2, x3, you can go anyway. And this is Cartesian, y1, y2, y3. Now that we know that t, if we assume these, the gradients, then I can say the operator in x1, x2, x3 is t, that means this, in a Jacobian form, and the gradients in Cartesian direction. So if we want the Cartesian direction, but the same quantities, then it will be T inverse of. That means I can always do the discretization in the curvilinear way, as we do here. But because the velocity, momentum and all, everything is considered in a Cartesian manner, you can imagine one inclined plane. I can think of two Cartesian, one, whatever is flow coming in, you can decompose that in vertical plane going with U and the horizontal component going with V. That is equivalent to the inclined velocity which is coming through the inclined plane. So we need to know the T inverse. If we want to transform my equations into Cartesian, I need to know everything to be transformed by this. So I have to first find out, before writing the momentum equation and all, the T inverse. So there will be in the geometry, once the geometry is known, y1, x1, y2, x2, y3, x3, I can always find out the gradients and the Jacobian and find this. That means the T inverse matrix. Once I find out the T inverse matrix, I can multiply by this and get everything, all the Cartesian equations in the non-Cartesian variables, curvilinear variables. Because I will transform, I will go inside the code along the Cartesian curvilinear direction. But my velocity components are Cartesian. So this transformation is a must. As soon as we generate the grid, a curvilinear grid, we will compute this T inverse matrix because this is all grid dependent. See the y1, x1. So if I move from one point to another point, what is the change of y1? What is the change of x1? I can find out. So, and they will be fixed if we don't change the geometry, not a moving grid. So it is possible. That is what we have done. That means the equations what we are solving is all written in that direction, in the y1, y2. Yes. So it is very easy to write in the x direction. See, I have written the continuity now. Del xj rho uk beta kj jk, which is nothing but the transformed form of the Cartesian thing into curvilinear. These are xj's are curvilinear direction. I mean, according to the grid, it is going. Grid is not Cartesian. Grid is curvilinear. But velocities are Cartesian. So uk is Cartesian. And that's why the component has to be multiplied. So on any inclined plane, both u and v are acting because the k is a summing index. So you have u1 beta 1 to 1 and u2 beta 2 1. And they together must the flow through the inclined plane if I have the two components on the horizontal and vertical. Same concept, extend it to 3D. So the code writing will be on these equations. You can see the momentum equation. Usually we don't have this beta jk, but now we will have. So depending on what you are solving for u1, capital U1, which is the x direction, the Cartesian direction velocity. And I'll combine the uk, that means uj, u2, everything. Similarly, the viscous terms become very complicated. These betas are even a function of this. So but they are geometry dependent. That means the j is the Jacobian mu by j, but they are term. Once you have a grid, from the grid coordinates, you can compute beta ij, you can compute bij. There will be 9 components. You can compute j. So it is not a problem to numericalize this. This is the momentum transport equations and the mass transport equations or continuity in curvilinear grid, curvilinear coordinate system, but Cartesian velocity component. See, these funds are coming because of that, because I have Cartesian velocity, but a curvilinear grid. So obviously there will be 2, 3 components. Both will affect the flow through the faces. But one problem was still, continuity equation has no direct link to pressure. This is a problem of incompressible flow. So incompressible flow, some disconnection is there. Your continuity will have U1 and del U and del V, they will balance. But pressure is not there. So how are you sure that the pressure you are using here is actually bringing that continuity in right term? So there are some complications which I will show right now. And these equations are valid for any Reynolds number. But only thing, adequate resolution numerically if you want to do. Time, because time term is here, continuity doesn't have. And the space scales for turbulent flow. If you want to solve in direct numerical simulation, you can simply solve them. There is no assumption till now. But this will be a prohibitive time and cost computation. So I have to do some turbulence modeling. So those effects have to come into this so-called viscous term, but not due to viscosity, due to turbulence, the fluctuating components. But usually we sum them up or group them along with the viscous terms. I'll show you later. So when we discretize, when you have already made the grid, what you will see in a structured grid, you will see a hexahedron. You can see that hexahedron, 1, 2, 3, similarly backside, 1, 2, 3. So that dotted line and the form line, they form a kind of dice you play in the Ludo, but intentionally cut. I mean, they are inclined, any angle, they are not nicely parallelepiped. And so that is my control volume. And where does my point in question? P, at the centroid of this control volume. The P is there at the centroid. Yes, that is P. Now, all my flow components are stored at the point P, right? Whether it is Cartesian velocity component, or it is static pressure, or it is temperature, or it is kinetic energy of turbulence, or dissipation of turbulence, everything is stored at P. So if I consider the full field, that is composed of such cubes like this, I mean hexahedral like this. Hexahedral means 6 faces, there are 6 faces. So there the transport is happening with the neighbor. I have neighbor on top and bottom, I have neighbor at east and west, I have neighbor at south and north. So I have to compute carefully and correctly the convective and diffusive fluxes on all these 6 surfaces, right? You can use upwind difference, you can use any difference in scale. And that will balance if you have generated something around P. So that is basically my conservation, whether it is for mass or it is for anything. So see how nicely the outlook is changed. I am not concerned now about the partial differential equation. I am saying what it is doing. If you see a simpler version, a 2D control volume, it is something like this. The pressure is at the centroid, and there are U and V at W, U and V at E, U and V at N, U and V at S. All the 4 points where the centroid lines, the center lines cut of the cell, I don't store it, but I have to know the U and V both at these surface points. Otherwise, you cannot find out the flow. I cannot take care of the continuity. So what will happen if I want to know the flow at P, total flow? Then it will be the component B11 into U and B12 into V. So U del Y minus V dx is equal to the dq, whatever is pulling in, pushing in inside the control volume. And if I do that process at all faces, then that is the continuity. But the question is, shall you go directly to solve continuity? No. Now I'll follow the simple algorithm. I think the projection areas are clear, and these projection areas, as soon as you generate the grid, we have to store them. We have to store these projection areas, right? No, next. Now the question is, I told you in the last slide that I'll compute the flow on the faces, on the 4 faces in a 2D, on the 6 faces in a 3D. But from where? My velocities are stored at center. They are not stored at the surface. So the Cartesian velocity components which are stored at the center. However, if I want to find the convective flux, what will be the convective flux? The rho u square and rho vu at these planes. But nothing is stored there. So how to evaluate the u and v components at the cell face? That is tricky, very tricky. And in simple algorithm, what it teaches us that any velocity component at the face E is driven by the pressure difference between the P and the E. There is another cell here. Similarly here, if the west face, the velocity components are driven by the difference of pressure between P and W. Now, how to account for that? So that means the pressure at west face, if I assume this is the average, arithmetic average of capital P and capital W, and E as capital P and capital A, and same with the velocity, then we will make mistakes. So while computing the effects of the pressure, we should not. So it's a wrong thing, because what will happen if I want to find out the velocities at the west face, say, and if I say the pressure here is nothing but the arithmetic average of capital P and capital W, and if I also say the convective fluxes are the U into area, U into V into area at this, there is also arithmetic average, the convective fluxes. Then when I'm finding out when I'm solving the case, the cell around P, what will happen? I am averaging P and W to get the west face, and I will average similarly the P and capital E somewhere, which will be the east face. So when I subtract to get the pressure difference effect, what will happen? This will all be averaged. That means ultimately the arithmetic will say that the pressure difference between W and next to P, PP say, they are driving the velocity at P, which is not true. Because I will jump this. When I find the west face, I'll take average PW plus PP by 2. When I do the east face, I'll take PP plus PE by 2. So when I do the delta P term here, dPdx, my PP will cancel, right? And if PP cancels, then I'll get the checkerboard splitting. That means in the computation of the velocity at cell center P, I am completely avoiding the pressure at P. So that is not permissible. So I have to do something very seriously. Go to the previous one. Go down this one. Little up this one. So we have to take the difference of the pressure of P and E and W, that will be cancelled. You are saying the effect of pressure on these cell velocities is the difference of pressure between W and east of P, E, capital E, which is not true in philosophy, in the physics. So that will be wrong. I should not interpolate. What I should do, the remaining part, momentum, I can interpolate. That's why this is called the momentum interpolation. And my paper was quite appreciated in the community. It was in 88 in the numerical heat transfer. So that was to explain why we fail in a cell-centered arrangement if I don't do the interpolation correctly, which is called momentum interpolation. Because if you do momentum interpolation, then you are not taking the arithmetic average. So you are averaging only the parts which are not pressure. And the pressure part you are leaving. So go to the next. Very interesting finding. So when I am computing, here it is very clear. At the west face of the cell P, I am allowing the PP and PW to play a role. I am not averaging them to get the pressure at W. Correct? So the first thing is I have to integrate this. Solving PDE means you have to integrate the PDE. There is convective fluxes, there are diffusive fluxes, there are source terms. And the convective and diffusive fluxes are easy because diffusive will be very easy, gamma into the difference of the value which we are solving at P and W. That will good. And convective will be, we have to be careful because the convective flux I have written rho W B1 JW. That means J summed. You have to take B1W into U1 and B12 into U2, both. So J is a summing index. And that will be the CW into phi W. That means the convective flux we have to calculate mainly to take care of this coefficient, the geometric coefficients. We are considering from the inclined phase, we are considering the vertical and horizontal component. So U into the vertical component and V into the horizontal. That is the summation over J. This is a summing over J. There are two terms actually. And the critical issues are the proper interpolation for phi W. So when you take P, you should not interpolate, right? So proper interpolation of the U ensures wiggle-free solution. If you simply add them up and take it here, you will have wiggles. That means you get a solution, but the first, the third, the fifth, the seventh, they will be connected. Similarly, the second, the fourth, the sixth. So it will be like a checkerboard splitting. You will get solution, but they will be like a checkerboard split. Okay, go next. If we want wiggle free, we have to do the interpolation correctly, which is called the momentum interpolation. And the next step is continuity. See, here is I have just shown in a rectangular cell, but same. Only thing here, it is only U. If it is an inclined cell, then U and V both will be there. So when I'm calculating the U star, the phase velocity, I am taking the average of the different parts, all the contribution from the different viscous and all that. But the pressure part, I am taking du into P area into PW minus PP. I have not allowed this pressure part to go into the averaging. Then I will be lost completely. So that gives us the discretized continuity equation. I'll do that for all phases, and each part, one sample I have shown. This is the momentum satisfying. When I solved the momentum equation first, I got this. And this is the correction which I need to allow continuity. The momentum equation did not see the continuity, although they are coupled. So this is the correction of the cell phase velocity. And I can find it out from I can replace it as the pressure corrections, that if you enhance the pressure W, the velocity is increasing, so it is plus sign. If you enhance the P dot plus, then this will be decreased, the velocity will be decreased. So the assumption is that the velocity at the cell phase is driven by the difference of pressure between the adjacent cell centers. There's a beautiful concept, but people used to fail if they don't do this. If I don't do this and average everything, then you will be lost. And then you get the pressure corrections, you correct the pressure by some under relaxation, because otherwise initially the whole field is wrong. So if you put the whole pressure correction, it will be blown off. So you put very strong under relaxation and you correct the velocity fully, because this is giving you satisfaction of continuity. Ui star was satisfying momentum, and this star plus dashed, which is now calculated from the pressure correction field. So what do we do? Go to the steps. So if we put all those things, then we get the whole equation in this form. That means I am connecting phi. Phi can be U, phi can be V, phi can be W, phi can be P dash, pressure correction. Then every cell will have 6 neighbors. So we are getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 neighbors. And AP is the summation of this. That will come to the left-hand side. So minus AP. That means AP into this is equal to this. Plus source. This is the source from any other diffusion, viscosity, everything. And this is the unsteady term. And the source is always expressed as SU plus phi n into SP, phi p into SP. So this is coming into the phi p term, and this is going into the SU term, right? And then I can say the convection diffusion are coupled, added to get AI, all the coefficients. But the beauty is, and then you can have the time step terms also. The time step is del phi del t. Phi can be U, V, W. And that is in the first order, this is this. And in the second order, you will have this. That means between the present step, previous step, previous to previous step. 3 steps. So this is more second order equivalent. But you can do that. And you can put the, instead of del phi del t, you can put, we have done, I will show tomorrow some calculations. So this gives us the form A phi equal to B. And the banded septadiagonal, because there will be every point cell is connected to the 6 neighbors. So itself and 6 neighbors, 7. So this is a septadiagonal. Rest of that is 0. Then you go to the next cell, again, only 7 terms are there. So in the A matrix, this is a sparse. That's why doing a costly iteration, costly inversion is prohibited, because it's a sparse matrix. So we do by the iterative procedures, Jacobi or whatever. I have used strongly implicit procedure of Stone or alternate direction implicit. Both are there in the code. And if you solve this, you get phi. And phi is U, phi is V, phi is W, phi is P. All of them. So here I have said about turbulence a little bit, because we have to solve a turbulent flow. Now, how do we handle turbulence? I think yesterday we discussed a lot. I will skip this, saying that what I am now describing is the runs or unsteady runs. Largely simulation I will avoid. There is one slide I'll avoid. And direct simulation means all this tamasha will be eliminated. I will start from the beginning. So if we write summarily the eddy viscosity-based turbulence models, this is what the mathematicians have to know. This is the mass conservation, say K, summation over K, J, and momentum conservation. Here also there are summation index, and pressure is coming in beta. Why? Because there's an inclined phase. So pressure in this direction, pressure in both of them affect the pressure forces. And the turbulence is taken care of by the tau, and tau is this. So here I have K and I have velocity gradient and mu t. So the mu t I have to solve from the turbulence model, and the effect of turbulence will go to the momentum equations through this tau. And turbulence models means eddy viscosity based. Yesterday's discussion was there. Rho, C, mu, length scale into velocity scale. Next. And these many models are there in ANS 3D. K epsilon, I don't need to discuss this. K omega, shear stress transport, Spalart-Allmanis. Spalart-Allmanis is just one equation for mu t, not B2F. So all of these are built in the ANS 3D code. So this is important. I will stay here for 1 or 2 minutes because this is the time step loop, outermost. I consider now, instant. Then I go to the iteration sweep. So at this point, I have some upstream, flow field, and I need to find out the present flow field. So I cannot do in one go. So I have to iterate between two. That is the iteration loop. Then the whole field is divided into blocks, resolvable blocks. So I go to the block loop. And inside the block, I do the computation. I read the grid, I read the flow field at interface, I smooth the momentum. Smooth, I didn't say solve. This, this is picked up from Spalding, that I smooth them because I am not solving the full thing. I'm in iteration. So I just kind of smoothing the momentum equation, all the three. Then I solve the pressure equation, pressure correction. There is also smoothing anyway. And then I correct with under relaxation. The pressure and velocity field should be written. At least the pressure field. Velocity field don't under relax at this stage because you have all had satisfied continuity. Now if you under relax, this will go down again. Then smoothing of turbulence and other scalars. Smoothing means they don't want us to say solving. That's why I said smoothing. Actually, solving means when smoothing has reached convergence. But now smoothing, just a bit better, balance of the equation. Then write the flow field at the block interface. So everything is now written at the block interface. So one block is over. Then I go iterate, go to the next block, solve, go to the next block. This is this blue loop. When all the blocks are done, my one iteration is done. So then you go to the iteration loop, again do all the together. So it's a massive computation. And then one iteration is done. So do this iteration loop. If it is a steady state problem, you will converge with iteration and get the answer. If it is not, you will go to the time step loop. If it is an unsteady, like the cylinder LES, I go to the time step loop and get the next time step value. Right. So this is the sequence of the algorithm. Very, brief way it is said. So what are the major features? I come to the end of today's talk. There is a multi-block, structured, boundary orthogonal, body-fitted, curvilinear grids. Good. It is cell-centered variable arrangement. So all are at the center of the cell. Geometric center, yes. For Cartesian velocity components. It is implicit finite volume approach for time-accurate solution environment. You may use first order accurate, you may use second order accurate. Time is important in periodic flows or steady flows. So when I do flow past cylinder and particularly LES, it is a must that I have to do time accurate. But I have done for some small things. Now, what are the schemes I can modulate the accuracy using pure upwind, using central difference, using hybrid of central and upwind, and use quick. Quick is quadratic upwind interpolation of convection kinematics. That is called quick. The name was given by a mad professor at some university who used to say that what you do is turbulence is not modeling, it is muddling. You're just mixing up things. So he was a little crack, but this name was picked up by him and he proved it that it is a third order equivalent. Then second order, so quick scheme if you use, sometimes you will get an unwanted oscillations. So in that case, we have to have some other medicine to die down the oscillation. This is numerics. Then second order upwind, very much used nowadays. Fourth order central difference schemes for spatial derivatives, and for temporal, first order or second order. That's it. And simple algorithm with momentum interpolation, that is the task of the RAND3D code with co-located variable arrangement. If I want at surface phase, we have to interpolate. And Eurans is model circuit epsilon k omega B2F SST SA. And larger simulation code, of course, later, that is more elaborate. I have not included in this course. This is based on the eddy viscosity based Magorinsky model for unresolved stresses. A very good paper is published by me and Rajni that was in applied mathematical modeling. No, one is in applied mechanics, journal and mechanics. One is applied mathematical modeling. Anybody sees the reference and asks me the paper, I can share. It's all in my. And then the whole thing is parallelized using domain decomposition and validated on NAL parallel machine, flow solver, and also on SGI Altix at CMAX. SGI Altix has 24 processes. NAL parallel machine up to 6 or 8 processes we have used. But now they have plenty, they have more than 100. So that, hastens up, speeds up the computation very fast. SGI Altix is also, but nowadays there are plenty of people, mainly our CDAC, they have developed the Param base. Unfortunately, in our institute here, we have three units, but nobody has used it. Last 3 years, it is lying idle. So let us see in the next 1 month or 2 months, we can make it going. I think I have to make a friendship with Nusingha to get what he has. Thank you very much. I think I have finished what I wanted to say about this code development. So hand over to the people who are organizing.
Thank you, sir, for the nice information talk of the today of this topic. I hope all the participants has taken the inputs from this topic. I want to take some questions. But,
yes, you can.
Yes.
If you.
So the question is about what is the importance of backward scheme and forward scheme?
See, the importance is difficult to say. There are two schemes devised. You may get in some problems better answer is backward, some problem almost same answer as far as numerical accuracy is concerned. So as far as the fluid mechanics is concerned, there is no big specific advantage. This much I can see. Only thing, if you are solving compressible flow, then it matters, because compressible flow, there are specific directions, and if the flow is in some direction and you do the differencing in the opposite direction, you will have problems. But in incompressible flow, the influence of pressure or any disturbance, they propagate in all directions uniformly. There is no choice. So there it will not matter. But compressible flow, yes, one should see that the differencing is, numerical differencing is not done opposite direction to the speed of influence propagation. Good. And then presently, in which all coding language is this RANS3D code available? This is all in, I have done in Fortran, my old language. When I was child, I learned it in college. And this is all in Fortran. So I cannot give you any C++ or, present day, what is that? The other language, which is very common nowadays. Python, not MATLAB. MATLAB is totally different. MATLAB is something made by the people and handed over to you. So you don't change the code anywhere. You give data and different combinations and get it. But RANS 3D is also like that, but it is a code which takes care of many more things than, but MATLAB, the advantage is wide field you can use it, not for fluid mechanics alone, you can do for many other things. So somehow, jokingly, I say MATLAB is nothing but a matlab of selling it. Matlab, the purpose of selling it. So, and it is easy to pick up because you don't have to go deep inside. So people pick up and just use it for his, and especially the electrical, the electronics, sometimes mechanical also, they use MATLAB for stress, for fluid flow, many cases. Okay, good. Then, so language is done. What is the reason for reverse flow in flow simulation? I didn't answer get the question because reverse flow is happening because of the physics. So computation has nothing to do. If your simulation procedure does not allow reverse flow, then it is a problem. But as I showed in RANS 3D, everything is allowed. If the physics of the problem has reverse flow, it will come. I will show you tomorrow many backward facing step or cavity. Everywhere reverse flow is very nicely predicted because I am not allowing this reversal in my difference equation. Difference equation takes care of properly. Okay, and reverse flow is happening in the flow because of fluid mechanics reason. Like separating, if it separates because of the adverse pressure gradient, it will have reverse flow. But my computation will take care and find out where the reversal has taken place, where the flow is reversed. So the simulation, the numerical schemes do not affect the reverse flow happening. Good. Next, some reference of your important papers. Yes, I think better I will give a list of papers to the organizers and they will share with you, right? That will be good. And then you can communicate to me, I can suggest or do whatever. That will be good. So then you say list of blue. Yes. So please remind organizers, so that tomorrow I don't forget to give. I have both list of books and list of some important papers. Good. Study material, of course, I'm not in a position right now. Maybe if you interact with me, some notes, something I can send. That is possible. Nowadays, sending note is not an important difficult. So I'll do that. Or if you introduce me to the problem you want, we can always, discuss. Good. Thank you very much for your interest and patient listening to somewhat, things. Let us see how many of you are encouraged to start writing codes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you very much, sir. We will have one gallery view picture. So
Oh.
I request all the participants to on the video so that we can take the video further.
Aman Kumar Bairagi. Ashok Da. Shajid Babu. I can see. Atik Rahman. Please go back.
Yeah.
So next in the afternoon.
3 seconds na?
Tinta.
Gautam sir is with you.
Yes, yes.
Ah.
Yes, sir.
Please help me.
My video is actually getting some disturbances. So
Okay, fine.
Gautam is here.
Yeah.
Without mathematician, I am.
All the participants are requested to please switch on our video. We are taking different photos. We have to send to IISc as per their instructions. So I hope that those who have attended. And another announcement, friends, because you are already switched on your video. Today, what I could see that many persons are joining without registering in Airtel FDP. you are most welcome. That's why intentionally we have used Zoom, because when we are attending some sessions Autal FDP, some people were, due to some reason, they couldn't register, but they were eagerly waiting to understand, to learn something. That's why this platform is free for all those who can come and join, no problem. But please don't ask us, because I came to know morning, sir, some people, what they are thinking, they are joining this Zoom meeting, they are thinking that it is what when AICTE is conducting, they will get the certificate. No, certificate, everything will be considered those who have registered in Autal site. Because if we give also, if you need a certificate, I can give as a coordinator. But AICTE cannot give, because we have to do everything in the AICTE website. So if your name is not there, we cannot do. But if you are interested to learn something, it is free of cost, most welcome to learn. There is no problem. We are having 500 capacity, come and join. Most welcome, I am declaring. Because learning something, there is no issue. But don't ask us to get a certificate. Morning I came to know from one person, sir, now you are joining, sir, please consider a case for AICTE. They don't know that you have to register first in Autal FDP. Otherwise you are barred. But learning something, who is restricting? You can come, but don't ask for any certificate or anything, please. And all participants, I'm requesting also, some are joining, after 2 minutes they are leaving. This is not the way actually. We have come here, we should be honest to the pie. We are learning for that one, because I'm pointing out everything. And most probably I'm the only person coordinator, every time looking at the attendance only. Every time I'm noting it down. And I'm generating from Zoom. Again, I'm telling you, I am not doing that one. Personally, I'm noting it down. I am also collecting from Zoom. Now it is off now. Zoom will give the Excel sheet. So you cannot claim. I'll send everything to AICTE. That I was there, this is there, that was there. That cannot be considered, because already it is a auto-generated Excel sheet of Zoom. That's why you cannot claim anything. So 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I cannot consider, please. That's why it's honest. You are not student, you are all faculty members. I must respect to all of you. Okay, please join in a proper way, try to learn something. When I was also joined 3-4 FDPs in quantum computing, CFD 4 over already. Honestly, I was joining and learning something, discussing with our colleagues, and also I interacted also. I'm in touch with them also now. Okay, so you are requested, don't take in other way. I am not treating as a student, you are my friends. Okay, many professors pretty senior to me also, so I respect all of you. But one thing is, be honest, the pie. Okay, so let us have a discussion. Also, it is not the end. We can have our own interactions also. We can have our own group also, CFD groups. It doesn't matter like that. So this is my utmost request. Be honest to the attendance, please, because